Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava, page 6b, starting at the top of the page, with the word Shor Yochiach. The Gemara suggests the primary category of ox will prove that this fact, that the ox, in other words, the cause of the damage entered the public domain with permission, is not a reason to exempt its owner from payment, as that is the nature of the primary category of ox, and one is liable for damage caused by his ox. The Gemara questions the derivation from ox. What is notable about ox? It is notable in that it is the typical manner of the animals in these categories to proceed from one place to another and cause damage. By contrast, in the case of the sewage, it is not its typical manner to proceed and cause damage. Accordingly, how can one learn the halacha, in this case, from the primary category of ox? The Gemara suggests if one attempts to challenge the derivation from ox in this manner, it is possible to respond. The halacha of the primary category of pit will prove that the lack of this characteristic, of the typical manner being to proceed and cause damage, is not a reason to exempt one from paying restitution for the damage, as that is the nature of pit, and one is liable for damage caused by his pit. The Gemara notes, and as pit and ox each prove that the defining characteristic of the other is not decisive in establishing liability or exemption, the derivation has reverted to its starting point, and liability in these cases is derived from the common denominator of pit and ox. This is the halacha added by the common denominator stated in the Mishnah. Ravina said, the stating of the common denominator in the Mishnah serves to add the halacha that one is liable to pay damages in this case that we learned in a Mishnah on 117b. In the case of a wall or a tree that fell on its own into the public domain and caused damage, the owner of the wall or tree is exempt from paying damages because he is a victim of circumstances beyond his control. But if the court had sensed the potential danger and had allotted him a certain amount of time during which he was obligated to chop down the tree or demolish the wall, and he had not yet done so, and the wall or tree fell into the public domain within the allotted time and caused damage, he is exempt from paying damages. If he did not do so and it fell after the allotted time expired, he is liable to pay the damages. The Gemara asks, what are the circumstances? If it is a case where one declared the fallen tree or wall ownerless, both according to Rav and according to Shmuel, this is a subcategory of pit. What is different about the primary category of pit that it is defined as a unique category? What is different is that its damage is commonplace, and it is your property and responsibility for its safeguarding. To prevent it from causing damage is incumbent upon you. In these cases involving the tree and the wall, too, their damage is commonplace, and they are your property, and responsibility for their safeguarding to prevent them from causing damage is incumbent upon you. If it is a case where one did not declare them ownerless, according to Shmuel, who says we learn that one is liable for damage caused by all obstacles that he places in the public domain, whether or not he declares them ownerless, from the halachot with regard to one's pit, this is a subcategory of pit. The Gemara answers, actually the Mishnah teaches one's liability in a case where one declared the tree or wall ownerless, and even if he declared them ownerless, they are not similar to the primary category of pit. What is notable about the primary category of pit? It is notable in that its initial formation, in other words, the digging of the pit, is done in a manner that can result in damage. Will you say the same with regard to these cases, where their initial formation, in other words, the planting of the tree and the building of the wall, is not done in a manner that can result in damage? The Gemara suggests the primary category of ox will prove that this factor of not being initially formed in a manner that can result in damage is not a reason to exempt its owner from payment, as that is the nature of the primary category of ox. In other words, an ox is not born in a manner that results in damage, and one is liable for damage that caused by his ox. The Gemara questions the derivation from ox. What is notable about ox? It is notable in that it is the typical manner of the animals in these categories to proceed from one place to another and cause damage. By contrast, in the case of the tree and the wall, it is not their typical manner to proceed and cause damage. Accordingly, how can one learn the halacha in these cases from the primary category of ox? The Gemara suggests if one attempts to challenge the derivation from ox in this manner, it is possible to respond. The halacha of the primary category of pit will prove that the lack of this characteristic of the typical manner being to proceed and cause damage is not a reason to exempt one from paying restitution for the damage, as that is the nature of pit, and one is liable for damage caused by his pit. The Gemara notes, and as pit and ox each prove that the defining characteristic of the other is not decisive in establishing liability or exemption, the derivation has reverted to its starting point. And liability in the cases of the tree and the wall is derived from the common denominator of pit and ox. This is the halacha added by the common denominator stated in the Mishnah. The Mishnah states, and when a component of any of these categories cause damage, the owner or generator of the component that caused damage is obligated to pay restitution with best quality land. The Gemara asks, why does the Tana of the Mishnah use the unusual expression, the one liable for the damage is chayav to pay? Chav. Chayav, okay, chav. Chav hamazik, instead of chayav. It should have used the more standard expression for liability. The one liable for the damage is chayav. The Gemara explains that Rav Yehuda said, well, one reason is that today is November 8th, and Chav is Gematria 10. No, that's not going to work. I mean, that's the idea, you know. You could go Biches with 8. Okay? That's like my own interpretation of it. The Gemara explains, Rav Yehuda said, that Rav said, this Tana is a Jerusalemite who teaches using a light and concise formulation, and Chav is more concise than Chayav. Okay? You can go Gematria also. Chayav is 20, is 30, and then 8. Okay? I might start doing some of my own commentaries on this. That would be a bad idea. The Mishnah teaches the owner or generator of the component that caused damage is obligated to pay restitution for damage with best quality land. The one liable for the damage is indebted to pay payments of restitution for damage with his superior quality land. The sages taught in a brisa, the Torah states, with regard to paying damages, of the best of his field and of the best of his vineyard he shall pay. Exodus 22, verse 4. What is the meaning of his field and his vineyard? It refers to that property of the injured party. The one liable for damage pays from land of a quality that is commensurate to the best quality field of the injured party and to the best quality vineyard of the injured party, even if the property he damaged was of a lesser quality. This is the statement of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva says that the verse comes only to allow injured parties to collect compensation from superior quality land belonging to the one liable for the damage in the event that he has no money or movable property. And by means of an a fortiori inference, one can derive that the temple treasury of consecrated property collects from superior quality land. The Gemara asks, and according to the opinion of Rabbi Ishmael, if one's animal ate from a rich garden bed, it is understandable that he must pay the injured party the value of a rich garden bed. But if he ate from a poor garden bed, is it reasonable that he pays the value of a rich garden bed? While this is the straightforward meaning of the statement, it is untenable, as he would be paying more than the value of the damage he caused. Rav Idi bar Avin said, "With what are we dealing here? We are dealing with a case where the animal that caused the damage ate from one garden bed among other garden beds, and we do not know whether it ate from a poor one or it ate from a rich one." I don't see what that means. I mean, you can just see where the damage was. You just take a look at it. I don't see what Rav Idi bar Avin is saying there. In such a case, the halacha that the animals, how can you not know? You just take a look at where the damage happened. In other words, yeah, that's my question. Okay. In such a case, the halacha is that the animal's owner pays the injured party for the value of a rich one. Rava raised a question and said, and if we would know that the animal ate from a poor garden bed, its owner would have to pay only the value of a poor garden bed. Now that we do not know whether it ate from a poor garden bed or if it ate from a rich garden bed, is it reasonable that he should have to pay the value of a rich garden bed? There is a general principle governing monetary disputes that the burden of proof falls upon the claimant. Hamotzi mechavero alav haraya. The burden of proof falls upon the claimant. Therefore, so long as the injured party cannot prove that the animal ate from the rich garden bed, he should not be entitled to collect the value of such a garden bed. Okay, we are approaching the time limit here. Maybe one more category, one more paragraph. Rather, Rav Acha bar Yaakov said, with what are we dealing here? We are dealing with a case where, after praising the damage, the court comes to collect from the one liable for the damage, but he does not have money available to pay for the damage. And the Tanaim disagree in a case where the superior quality land, idios, edit, in other words, the best land of the injured party is equal in quality to the inferior quality, to the ziburit land, and of the one liable for the damage, and the one liable for the damage also has land of superior quality. I think we'll stop here due to the time and continue with part B in the next video.